Financial information availed to users should possess the feature of faithful representation. To support this is the concept of prudence. Prudence can be seen as an act of exercising caution, especially in applying professional judgments under uncertainty. This concept helps to produce realistic and dependable rather than optimistic and biased figures and information. In this video, you learn about the application of this concept in determining the figures that appear in the financial statements relating to receivables. Hello and welcome to the Accounting Feed. My name is Philan and I'm your host for this session. First off, receivables arise when an entity provides credit facilities to its customers. Ordinarily, the customers are given a particular number of days to pay their debts. Credit facilities can benefit the business through increased sales, improved customer loyalty, as well as enabling the entity to enter into new markets. However, it comes with some risks or costs such as declining cash flows, opportunity cost due to foregone benefit that would have been derived by reinvesting the cash held by customers, or even the possibility of irrecoverable debts. Management of receivables. As a means of managing receivables, aged receivables analysis is performed. This analysis is a simple list of credit customers, their balances, and how long they've been due. The analysis helps the credit control function to keep track of outstanding debts and follow up those that are overdue. It also helps to facilitate timely collection of debts, hence reducing irrecoverable debts. The business also sets credit limits to each customer, and this is the amount of credit that the business is willing to give or extend to that customer. Credit limits are not only important in reducing the risk of irrecoverable debts, but also helps to build the trust of a new customer. Recording credit sales. When we sell goods to our customers on credit, we'll issue invoices to request for payment. The data from the invoices will be extracted and recorded in the book of prime entry called Sales Day Book. The figures in this book will be summed up and posted in the general or nominal ledger called Receivables Control Account. From here, the general ledger is balanced off at the balancing figure extracted into the trial balance. It is at this point that the adjustments to the trial balance are made. As relates to receivables, the following adjustments are necessary to ensure that the value of receivables in the statement of financial position is not overstated. This is an idea that is consistent with prudence concept. Number 1. Irrecoverable debt written off. This is also referred to as bad debts. It is that part of receivables that has been confirmed or proved to be irrecoverable due to issues such as bankruptcy, financial difficulties of the customer, or irreconcilable disputes with customers. Since the amount cannot be recovered, the entity will have to bear this risk, and thus it will record it as part of its receivables expenses. This can be summarized in the following double entry: debit receivables expense or irrecoverable debt written off, and credit receivables control account. Sometimes an amount that had been previously written off as recoverable is later recovered. For instance, if the business had decided to write off an amount due from customer facing financial difficulties and hence expensed it, but the customer pays it afterwards, this amount will be referred to as irrecoverable debt recovered and will be recorded as an income. The double entry will be as follows: debit cash or bank, credit receivables expense or recoverable debt recovered. Note that this will not be effected in the receivables control account. Number 2. Allowance for receivables. This is an amount that is set up in order to include a realistic value of receivables in the statement of financial position without actually writing off the debt. It can be seen as an estimate of receivable balance that might not be recovered. This amount can be specific to a particular customer or general based on past records, which might indicate that a particular percentage of customers usually do not settle their dues. In the trial balance, this will look like this. receivables expense in the statement of profit or loss. The figure that appears in the statement of profit or loss as receivables expense will be calculated as follows. So we'll start with irrecoverable debt written off, and then we deduct irrecoverable debt recovered, and then change in allowance for receivables, which is the difference between balance carried down and balance brought down. Note that irrecoverable debt written off is an expense and irrecoverable debt recovered is an income. The change or movement in allowance for receivables, which is the difference between balance carried down and balance brought down, will also appear in the statement of profit or loss. If the balance carried down is more than the balance brought down, that means an increase. This is referred to as a charge or expense, and therefore is added to irrecoverable debt written off. If the balance carried down is less than the balance brought down, which is a decrease, this is referred to as a credit or income, and therefore should be netted off against the recoverable debt written off. The double entry for the change in allowance is as follows. If it is an increase, we debit receivables expense and credit allowance for receivables. But if it is a decrease, we debit allowance for receivables and credit receivables expense. The value of receivables that appear in the statement of financial position will be calculated as follows. So we start with the receivable balance, deduct irrecoverable debt written off, and then whatever you get there is what you use to determine the allowance for receivables carried down. So it can be a percentage, for example 5% of that balance. So when you deduct that figure, the amount you get is the value of receivables that goes to the statement of financial position. This marks the end of our session today. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in accounting and finance topics, make sure you subscribe to this channel, The Accounting Feed. And if you have any questions on this topic or any other accounting area, please post it in the comment section below. Feel free to share this video or channel with anyone you know might be interested in this type of content. And until the next one, cheers!